Pony Clubbers. So we're now on to week 3. We've covered, in week 1, we covered the rules of feeding. In week 2, we covered the different ingredients we might feed to our horses and ponies, so different feedstuffs. And now in week 3, we're going to have a look at building rations for our horses, so how to feed our horses practically, so applying the feeding knowledge. So to do that, we're going to have a look at the different types of ways we can do that. So we're going to look at the sum that we do to work out how much we're going to feed our horse or pony, and we're going to take into account the horse's condition and the types of work that they're in, and how the Pony Club Manual of Horsemanship describes all of this, so how they want you to consider it. So that's what we're going to have a look at in this session. Okay, so first things first then, how much food does your horse or pony need? So the recommended amount is that your horse will need to eat 2.5% of their body weight every day. So that's where we start with. So that's how much we would need to feed our horse or pony. Now that's a dry weight. So if you think about it, grass, for instance, there's a high level of moisture in that, a high level of water. Same with something like sugar beet. But all foods will have an amount of moisture content. So what we're looking at is the dry weight. So if we removed all that moisture, that's how much the horse or pony will need to eat, which is why when we talked about haylage, we said that you'd need to feed more haylage to your horse or pony to make sure that they had enough fibre, enough roughage in their diet. Okay, so that's the dry weight, 2.5 body weight. Now, however, that's if your horse is in a good body condition score. So it means your horse is not too fat and not too thin. So if your horse is overweight, you might reduce that to 2% of their body weight, but it would never be less than 2% of their body weight. If you had a horse that was underweight, the Pony Club manual here says that you can feed more than 2.5. However, the problem you might run into there is that you might have a horse or pony that won't eat more than 2.5% of their body weight in a day. And that's where we look at how much energy content we have in the diet or how nutritious it is. So we make it more concentrated, and we'll come to that when we look at building a ration. So that's what our basic 2.5% of body weight, no less than 2%. Okay. Now, we then need to have a look at what our horses like to feed. So we're going to look at some terminology there. So we might refer to our horse as a good doer. Now what we mean by that is that our horse will readily eat up his food and he'll put that weight on. So he'll maintain his weight reasonably well. So we don't have to worry about him dropping off weight. Generally speaking, he'll keep it on. The concern we sometimes have with those sorts of horses is that they can be prone to getting overweight. So we have to be careful not to overfeed them. But generally speaking, it's nice to have a good doer because we don't have to feed them so much. It's a bit more economical to feed them, so it's cheaper. We don't have to buy so much feed for them, and they look well on very little. So that's your good doer. You've also got your poor doer. Now, your poor doer is one that you need to feed a more nutritious food to keep the weight on. Generally speaking, they don't hold their weight very well. They tend to drop off and can look quite poor, even if you're feeding good quality food to this horse or pony. So with your poorer doer, you need to have a look at making sure it's easily digestible and that it's more nutritious, there's more nutrients in it, and there's a higher energy content in that food. Moving on to whether or not your horse eats up well. So you might have a horse that's referred to as a fussy feeder or a dainty feeder. Those types of horses are a bit picky. It's really difficult to find foods that they'll eat. You have a range of this, so some horses will happily eat some foods and just not others, and then once you work out what they'll eat, it's not really a problem, you just feed them that. Others, sometimes they'll like certain food for a few weeks and then they change their mind and they won't eat it anymore. So you have to work out what it is that you can do to tempt those horses to eat their foods. So they can cause quite a problem. So it's working out whether your horse eats up or whether they are a shy or dainty feeder. Okay, so move on to workload. So we will need to make sure when we're feeding our horses that we take into account the work being done by that horse. And the reason we do that is that work requires energy and requires calories. So horses in harder work are likely to need more calories than those in lighter work or maintenance. So we need to have a look at and evaluate how much work our horses are in, and we need to make sure that we feed according to work done, not in anticipation of work to be done. i.e. you would need to adjust the food behind the exercise. So as the exercise increases, the feed will increase behind it, not in front of it. So sometimes you'll have, for instance, you might have somebody a bit wishful thinking, and they might decide, well, okay, I really want to have a competition horse, I want to get my horse fit for competition, and they'll buy a competition mix, feed that, but they've not actually increased the exercise or be working at that hard at all, and then they end up with clinical issues with that horse or behavioural problems. So it might be that the horse has too much energy in its diet and needs to get rid of it somewhere, so you end up with a horse that bucks you off or runs off with you, or is just far too excitable to handle on the ground. Because it's not matched with the workload. You're not working it hard enough for the level of food that you're giving it. Other problems can be, you can cause your horse to have laminitis, you can cause them to have a condition called azoturia or tying up, which is a muscle condition. So there's various different things that can go wrong if you feed too much energy for your horse, as opposed to where it is in its exercise. Now the Pony Club manual has done a chart for you, and I'll pop that into the screen so you can see it a little bit more clearly. But what they've done for you is they've put in the percentage of bulk food in comparison to concentrates, depending on where your horse is in this section here. And I think it's backwards on my screen as well, which is not too helpful. But as I say, I will pop that in. So essentially what you've got is maintenance, which is 100% roughage, so your grass, hay or haylage, and then moving up. So as you go into light work, you might move to about 20% concentrate, so whether your horse or pony cubes, oats, those types of things. Medium work, you go up again. I think they've got it about 30% there, and hard work at 40%. Generally speaking, you want to make sure that your bulk feed is at least 50% of the diet, if not more. The horse needs its fibre, really important, and we'll look at the digestive system and why that's important next session. But as we've talked about in our first week, the horse's stomach is the size of a rugby ball, and he's designed to be trickle feeding. So he's designed to be eating a roughage based diet all day, pretty much 16 hours a day you'll be eating. So it's small and often. Whereas when we try and meal feed a horse, which is what we do when we feed in a bucket, that can end up with too much food going in too quickly, when it then gets into parts of the digestive system that's not healthy for it. So we need to make sure that we try and feed our horses according to nature, in the sense that they do need a high roughage diet. Okay, so the Pony Club considers, let's have a look then what they consider, because we can all be a little bit guilty of this, of thinking our horses are in harder work than they actually are. So what the Pony Club has said here is maintenance is the horse is able to remain healthy and to maintain all bodily functions such as eating, breathing, keeping warm, growing, or repairing any injuries. So that's if your horse is not working. So any working horse or pony who's put out to grass for a break from routine work will be living at maintenance level. So if you have any horses that are retired, any horses that just aren't in work or having a break, they should be fed at maintenance level, okay? And most horses or ponies can be fed, can be maintained on a completely roughage diet with no bucket feed. There are exceptions though, and we will talk about those. But as a general, maintenance should be able to be fed just your roughage. Now, light work is maintenance, because of course you still need to feed your base level, plus up to 1 hour's hacking daily, mostly walking and trotting with very little cantering, is what the Pony Club says. Okay. Some people would say that you know there is some cantering involved there, but it's essentially you're not working a horse too hard. So that's your light work, okay? Now medium work, according to the Pony Club, is maintenance plus an average of 1.5 hours hacking daily, with active work which might include cantering, jumping, Pony Club rallies and competing at shows. Okay, so that's what the Pony Club considers to be medium level work. All right. Hard work would be maintenance plus final fitness programs for participating in Pony Club camp, polo, hunting, regular mounted games, team training, one-day horse trials and long distance training. Okay, so that's what the Pony Club considers to be hard work. Very hard work would be maintenance plus preparations for point-to-pointing, 3-day eventing, long distance competitions. Okay, so that's how the Pony Club has done it. Now, it's really important that you note that I'm saying this is what the Pony Club has said, okay? Because if you have a look at different feed companies, so if you decide you want to buy a horse or pony cube or a mix from a reputable feed company, you may discover that they do this differently. So they might consider light work to be the same as what the Pony Club considers to be medium work, okay? So quite often light work is considered to be Pony Club activities or riding club activities, or, you know, your low-level dressage, show jumping, that kind of thing. And medium work is when you get to higher levels of dressage, so medium and above, when you get to show jumping at fox hunter level and above, and when you're eventing one-day events, okay? And then your hard work is when you're considered to be racing, hunting, polo, and those types of activities, all right, 3-day eventing. So that's considered hard work, whereas in here they've done it as very hard work. So they've added an extra category. So it's just worth bearing that in mind, because you don't want to be feeding your horse that's in what a feed company considers to be light work, and you've put it as medium work, because you'll be wasting your money, because you'll be overfeeding your pony and it's not going to need all those nutrients, and also you could cause some clinical issues for that pony. So just be careful. It's better to slightly underfeed than it is to overfeed, because it's easier to adjust up and your horse or pony can still get the calories that they're getting from their roughage. So it's better to underfeed concentrates if in doubt. Okay, so that's how the Pony Club describes those. So okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at different horses and ponies, and we're going to apply the formula for working out how much to feed your horse per day, so 2.5% of their body weight. So we're going to have a look at the formula, so how to work that out, and then we're going to have a look at these different horses or ponies in different scenarios to work out how much concentrate we want to feed them, how much roughage we want to feed them, and then how we can practically do that within the day.